everybody, and welcome to Realtors from the Trenches, episode 9. It's February of 2024, and today we're going to be talking about taxes, basically things like foreign buyers tax and uh, vacancy tax and a pretty hefty tax increase of 9.5% for Toronto. Um, we're going to talk about how we feel about these taxes as from the point of view of a realtor and clients, and do we think they're effective, and maybe some of our stories of what our clients feel about it. And just to say it clearly that we're not economists, we're not real estate data analysts, we're just realtors giving you our perspective from the trenches. So it's anecdotal, not statistical. It's just getting a view of the real estate market from the lens of three realtors who are working it from the trenches. And I, of course, am Nat Grillo. I'm joined by my colleagues Dave Eccles and Mike Borelli. We're all realtors with Remax Premier here in the GTA of Toronto. And okay, let's get started. So let's start about the foreign buyers tax, because this was a controversial tax that the government decided to put in, and it was back in 2017. I think, Dave, you were saying that you felt that it actually did have an impact.
Yeah, yeah. So I remember that very, very clearly. In fact, I sold a house in multiple offers on the 19th or 20th, right before, or in April. It was April 21st, 2017, if I remember correctly. A day or two before, I was selling a house, and there was, this multiple offers was going crazy, and it started to taper off as we started to get, towards that announcement. And when the government announced the foreign buyer tax, all of a sudden the market like shut off like a tap. It changed very dramatically the next day, and it was something that I had never seen before, and we had to react very quickly for our clients that were trying to get into the market after that had happened, and sell these properties for as quick as we didn't see it diving as it did. I want to say it was something similar to what we experienced recently in 2021, 22, and the dive that we've seen, the up and down. But this was very specific to the foreign buyer tax, and that was an interesting turn of events when that happened.
Mike, what's your feeling?
I mean, I really think that with the foreign buyer tax, yes, anytime there's an announcement where you hear tax or there's some type of increase, it's, it puts fear in the consumer's eyes, right? I think with the amount of people coming in, to the country, what I've experienced is a lot of them have money and they want to get it out of their country, because our country is our governments are regulated, our banks are regulated. So it's almost like a safe haven for them. So if they can, take part of their wealth and transfer it into, our economy, I don't think they mind paying the tax. I mean, I experienced a transaction where, they had to pay a $75,000 foreign buyer's tax, and they didn't even bat an eye. So, I think there's benefits to them. A lot of foreign countries, they also do get paid in US denominated currency. So they look at it as, well, if I'm bringing my US dollars here, then on the conversion, I'm making money. I also know that there's programs too, if, they do have a student, like an exchange student that's coming here to study, I think there's certain criteria. If they meet, they can also get a rebate on part of the foreign buyers tax. I don't, I mention it, I don't know too much information about it, but I've heard it, that there is the ability to, get some of it back.
I have really mixed feelings on it because I understand what David's saying that, he perceived the market really changing. I remember that time too, and I remember thinking that the market was changing anyway. It was just time for a little mini correction. Like we've had several mini corrections, and then, in 2, 3 months they're over with, and everybody shrugs it off, and then they just move on. And so that's was my experience of that 2017. And I also had a client who bought a property. And my experience of the client, they happen to be from Jamaica, and they were just annoyed. They weren't, it didn't stop them from buying the property. It didn't stop them from paying what the seller wanted. It just was annoying to them. But since then, they've done very well with the property. It's gone up in value, so they don't even think about it anymore. But there are some people that feel it's just a little tax grab. And then I guess the other question we should talk about is it ethical to do it? Like, should the government um, should the government make a tax to affect the value of property? So it's really nice, and I understand why they want to do it, to help our kids be able to buy a house and keep housing affordable for the residents. But at the same time, by doing that, if they are effective, aren't they actually affecting the value of people's homes? Like if I own a home in the GTA and the government's doing something that will keep its value low, you're kind of affecting my assets. So is that ethical? I have
Yep.
very mixed feelings about that.
Yeah, and for many people, I'm with you. I have mixed feelings about it because, of course, the cost to buy a house in the future for our children is going to be, somewhat out of reach. At the same time, if they do implement um, strategies that suppress the value of the homes, what about the people that were counting on that retirement? They want to liquidate their home and use that money to retire. So it's a little bit of a catch 22. Which is the better, way to go? It's certainly going to affect people one way or another.
Mike, what's your opinion?
I mean, taking economics in school, I mean, it's pretty simple. I think the fundamental supply demand, and you know, um, I think the government's starting to get it a little bit now to trying to increase supply, but adding these taxes and stuff like that, I don't think it was a good policy move. Um, they wanted to suppress the foreign buyers, but our country depends on foreign investments. It depends on immigrants coming here. So, I think it's more of a way to show that they're doing something. But the root issue I see across Canada is supply demand. And, the demand is high and the supply is very difficult to catch up with. And they try to institute, all these different taxes to try and push people to list their houses. But it doesn't seem like it's working, or maybe it's a very long lag effect, but I don't see it working. I think people get used to it and they just move forward. And
I
it
think you're
is what
right.
it is.
I think it just gets absorbed.
Yeah.
And I think you're right about the lag effect because any of the time that these taxes have come in, it's been after we're at the end of this whole cycle that they're coming in, right at the end, and what they wanted to do is already happening naturally, organically anyway. So anyway, that's my perspective as a realtor. And it for I think that the foreign market, the amount of foreign buyers I have been working with is less than before, than the height of it. But I don't know if that's because of taxes or just maybe it's harder to get money out of certain countries because they've closed the loopholes and those countries don't want their citizens taking capital out of those countries and putting them here. So they're making it harder to do. It's a complicated world and there's lots going on. So it's hard to know. We can talk a little bit also about how the market is right now. We're just before the spring market of 2024. I'm certainly sensing an awakening. I'm sensing things getting a little bigger, a little busier. People who had postponed their plans last fall are now calling me and ready to get going and list their homes. You guys experiencing that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm starting to get called again, and buyers are coming to the forefront and saying, okay, well, we're hearing the interest rates are going to come down. We see that window is now before prices may start to creep up. Yeah, it's definitely a more active market than it was in the last couple of months. And yeah, I do predict, at least for myself and my business, that it will be certainly a much better year than 2023.
Mike?
Yeah, I've seen definitely more activity. People are coming off the fence. But I think if you're ready to buy, I think this is the time to avoid that little blip up that the spring market always kind of has. So act now. If you're squandering about $5,000 or $10,000 on a $500,000-$600,000 condo or home, in the long run, it's not going to make a huge difference. I think prices have come down far enough where you can't predict a bottom. So if you're that close, sign the paperwork and move on. And probably by the time the house or condo closes, there'll be a few more sales that are probably 10,000-15,000 more than you paid for. So
yeah,
I'm also starting to hear of situations where people have their mortgage coming up for renewal, and now they're suddenly going to be faced with double the mortgage payments that they were used to, and they're going to start to come onto the market and sell to either downsize or make some other living arrangements or just handle their debt better, because when interest rates were 2.5%, it was manageable for them. But at the new rate that and their mortgages are coming renewal, there's a lot of mortgages coming for renewal this year. You're going to see more houses coming on the market, and that's the motivation behind it, I think.
yeah.
Is that what you guys are experiencing, any of that?
Yeah, for sure. There's that talk about these interest, or rather these interest rates that are, people that got into mortgages at 2.5% 4 or 5 years ago, and they're coming to renewal. And I think a bulk of it is coming around to the end of the year, early 2025. Certainly will be interesting if the Bank of Canada doesn't retard the rates quick enough. This fine balancing act, if they retard it too quickly, then we might cause another flop in the market. It might spike and then come. Who knows? It's if they don't retard them quick enough, then we have people that are losing their homes and scrambling to get out of them, and then the inventory starts to peak, and prices start to slide. So there's this balancing act that I hope that everybody, when I say that, the Bank of Canada is being very careful on how and what they do in the next 6 to 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the Bank of Canada or the government want people to lose their homes.
Right.
So they're definitely going to take action to avoid that happening. But also they might let some of it come to fruition because they want to increase that supply. They can't build enough houses quick enough to I guess satisfy the demand. So it's almost like a free market where let it work itself out in a sense. People can't refinance because they won't qualify. So
Exactly.
they might have to get into a 1 or 2 year fixed mortgage at double the interest rate, and their payments are, they're going to be sweating to make the payments. So it's about planning. If you have your mortgage coming due in the next 3, 6, 9, even a year away, start looking at it now and see where your budget is and how you can maybe make it work, to avoid maybe the possibility of not being able to afford it and then having to deal with it when it's real. So that would be my advice for people that are having their mortgages come due.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, I think that's all the time we have for today. So, gentlemen, let's meet again next week and we'll talk about something interesting then. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Yeah,
Have a
thank you.
great-
See you guys. Ciao.
Bye.